Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of JF Boxing TV Live. I'm your host, Jack Fletcher, and today we've got arguably the best coach in the business, boxing-wise, Mr. Dave Coldwell, online.
Hello, mate.
Dave, first and foremost, thanks very much for coming on the show today.
No problem. Pleasure to be on.
Obviously, we're approaching week 8 of lockdown. It's a trying, it's a testing time for a lot of people. You're used to a structured routine, taking the lads to the gym day in, day out, going to your press conferences, having some real structure in your life.
Yeah.
How have you been coping on lockdown? What have you been up to?
Do you know what? I've been keeping myself as busy as what I can. I've got some structure in my life straight away from day one. I put some structure into my family's life. Get up in the morning, do some training. The kids are doing the schoolwork. My son will play football. My daughter will just do her music and do what she's 15, so she can kind of like look after herself a little bit, as long as there's some sort of structure and she's not just bumming about. And we've just been, filling us days like that. And I've been training as well, make sure that I'm training every day. And then we've been going and doing this walk. I've been doing FaceTime boxing sessions with the fighters. So I'm sat on a bike, and at least I'm burning some calories while I'm sat on the bike. And the fighters are getting the work done. I mean, it's not ideal. FaceTime's great. I can give instructions and critique and things like that. But I'm not hands-on, so it's kind of like driving me nuts, because I just want to get back, and get the full roles and responsibilities of a coach.
I mean, at the weekend we had some positive viewing in the UFC behind closed doors. I've seen a lot of Eddie Hearn's sort of YouTube coverage, just mentioning that there may be things moving in July. Yesterday we had Boris Johnson's press conference. Not a lot really was said. There was a little bit of confusion. What's your viewpoint on that? What's your take on that? Because still there's no light shed on boxing at all.
No, because in the grand scheme of things, boxing is down the pecking order. People's lives are at stake, and people's there's a lot of businesses that are gonna potentially going to go under, are going under. A lot of big businesses that are going under, and then there's the small businesses. People's livelihoods, they need to get to work, and they need to earn a living. Now, you've got to balance that with the health side of things. And it's all right, people saying, "Oh, it's money before health" and all that lot. No, it's real life, because if people aren't earning money, and if they haven't got the the finances to pay for bills, so we're getting some. I think there's a 3-month mortgage relief. I think there's been some furloughing and things like that, and money coming in, but you've still got the rest of your bills to pay for. Your gas, your electric, your things like that. Because you're at home more, your gas and electric's going to be higher. The food bills I've noticed have gone up. They have in my house. I mean, I'm sure they have in other people's house. Just basically because we're used to as kids being out at school. Maybe they're not eating as much when they're at school. They're not eating as much of your shopping bill. Now you're having to cater for that because they're not going anywhere. So little things like that add up over a period of 7-8 weeks. That all adds up, and people are finding this. And with not earning money, and if businesses are closing, then they ain't got jobs to go back to. Then that in itself is a strain on health and mental well-being, because people can be stressing about, what am I going to do for a living, and what am I going to do for work? They have families to feed. So you've got a gain.
We've just lost the sound there, Dave.
Between the health.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you got me back? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got you back. Can you now?
You've got a very right. You've got a very dangerous balance that you've got to find, and it's no easy task, but that's why nobody's really mentioned boxing, because people don't see it. People forget that boxers, that's their job. The people that work in boxing, that's their job. The full-time coaches, full-time managers, full-time boxers. We don't have another income stream. That's it. And so we're in that same boat where we do need to know what's happening. We do need to earn money. There's a lot of fighters that can end up having to go and, you know, perhaps pack in boxing and go and get a job if there's a job out there for them, because nothing's happening with boxing. Now, there are procedures that are being put into place, and we're tentatively planning. There's nothing wrong with planning. We're not saying that this is what's happening in July. We are all going back to box and things. No, things are being put in place that if it allows between now, which is what, you know, the middle of, coming up towards the middle of May soon, and July, if in that period of time things settle down and more things start being unlocked, more and more things start running back to normal, then sport and boxing can get back up and running. Because sport and boxing isn't just recreational, you know, it isn't just a case, oh, it's great for your mind doing a bit of sport. It is people's livelihoods, you know, whether it's football, whether it's boxing, whether, you know, any other sport. So we fall into that category where we want to get back to work as well. And I think some people kind of like, you see it on Twitter and stuff, people saying, oh, you shouldn't even be thinking about boxing, you shouldn't even think. Well, we have to think about it, because we have to think about moving forward and earning money again. And that's not being greedy. That's not being, you know, the rich just looking after the rich. That's people's lives, you know. And the more that the more time we spend away from earning money, the more you start stressing, because you're thinking, shit, I've got nothing coming in, you know. And the more, you know, the more you watch your bank balance drop down, doesn't matter what level of bank balance you've got, it's constantly going down in this period of time at the moment while you're not earning. And so we want to get back. And if it allows, then hopefully in July, then we, you know, there's procedures that are being looked at, and if everything gets followed like that, the structures be in place, then maybe we get some behind closed doors boxing going.
In terms of the protocol that boxing needs to follow to get back onto its feet again, is it going to start off by having events with completely no spectators and sort of building it gradually?
Yeah, I can't see spectators and live sporting events with crowds. I can't see it until at the very earliest, the end of the year. But I've got a feeling they'll probably write this year off and say we'll start fresh from the new year, to be safe. I think that's what will happen. But again, you know, this is just my guesswork, just me reading into things, how things seem to be laying, and you know, you look around the other countries and how the patterns seem to be. There is no formula for it. You know, if the guys that are running the country and the government aren't clear and haven't got a clear idea of what could or couldn't happen, because it's something new, if they don't know, then what chance of me or you got? You know, we only deal with what we see, and we're only allowed to see what they want us to see. You know, so it's very difficult, and it's all, from our side of things, it's all pure guesswork. I would hope that from the government side of things, it's taken on with pure science work, but who knows?
I mean, obviously, before the events, we need to get the gyms open.
Yeah, that's a problem. Now, the measures that Boris came out with yesterday, and this 50-page document or whatever, it seems that as a member of the public, you can go out and kind of like interact more as long as you keep your social distancing. So the way that I look at it is, well, if you're in a gym and you keep your social distancing apart, then maybe there's work you can do there. The one thing there that doesn't help is, from my side of things, taking a fighter on the pads. You know, but maybe if you're all tested and you're all, you know, your circles that you're involved in, if you keep this is the thing, if we all start spreading around, going here, there and everywhere, there's more chances of us getting something. But my family, we've kept our circle to us. That's it. You know, we've not been in close proximity to anybody else really. So we've cut down the dangers of it. Now, if, say, for instance, one of your fighters has done the exact same thing and doing the exact same thing, and none of their family, immediate family, none of your immediate family that you're living with have got the virus, then you get in a car, you meet at the gym, there's just you two, you know, you guys there that are clear, and you can get to work, and then you can continue that protocol, then maybe that can work, you know, because you're not coming into contact with others. But I would say that that's maybe an idea. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I'm not an expert on this, but we've not even thought about, we've not risked that or anything. You know, we want to make sure that everything gets leveled out and things are a lot safer before we start doing that.
I mean, there's so many
point because there's no set date for a fight. It might be September. It might be, so there's no point in risking going and doing a bit of pad work now because nothing's going to be happening, you know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it is. I think that's all we can do is kind of like take it as it comes. You can't plan too far ahead in terms of what we're doing. I think if we all stay safe and we all keep smart, then we stop this from developing further. Then things will start easing up.
I mean, aside of the pad work, there's many sort of variables of the complications of this. What about sparring partners?
Yeah, sparring. I mean, that's the thing. That's why, you know, everyone's going to have to be tested. Until this is the thing. What, you know, it seems to be. I don't understand how you can have an accurate number of people that have got this virus. I don't understand how you can have an accurate number of people that you know, that are sick with this virus if they're not being tested. You know, there's people, you know, you ring up, or what it was, or you ring up, I've got this, I've got that, yeah, you COVID, yeah, it's quarantined it. So are they marking that down as somebody that's got the virus? You don't, you know, it's a bit unclear on how you can keep tabs on something if you're not testing. And it's also unclear to me how you can beat something if you don't know how it's getting on, because you might be testing, I think they're saying they're up to about 80,000 tests a day or something like that. Well, that's 80,000 people a day out of millions of people in the country. So, you know, you don't know who's got it, who hasn't got it. And it's very difficult. It is very difficult.
I know it's very difficult to predict at this point when an event will happen. I've watched multiple interviews on YouTube. Eddie Hearn is hopeful that sort of back end of July. Can we realistically see that happening?
Yeah, I do. I can see it really. Listen, I'd rather be an optimist than a pessimist. And if they're looking at, I mean, they've said they're looking at sporting events possibly, you know, coming back after June 1st. Listen, the minute football goes back to work, then everything else will start going, because football at the end of the day is the biggest money earner that there is. The amount of money that it brings into the economy, not just off the pitch, it's everything, the spin-offs, the trade around the football stadium. You see every burger place, every kebab place, you know, everything as you're walking up to that stadium, it's on fire, you know, people buying, spending money. And you know, it's a massive economy driver. Not just that, everything else that leads with football, the gambling industry and everything, that all then picks up and everything because of football. So the minute football goes back to work, then I do think that the floodgates will open and more things will take off as well.
I did hear something on the news today. I think it might have been Radio 1 that the FA are in talks today about bringing football back.
Yeah, because again, like I said, you know, footballers are like everybody else. They need to earn a living. You know, not every footballer is on £1 million. You know, £250,000 a week. Not every footballer is doing that. You know, there are footballers that are on you know, more humble sort of wages. But what I can presumably guess is even the guys that are on the higher end of the scale, a lot of them will live to the means. And you know, because we've seen it with sport, you know, we've seen boxers blowing 300 million. How do you blow 300 million? They live into it, you know. They think they've got that money coming in, so they just spend. At the end of it, they're not saving anything for things like this. And also, sports people, they have a time frame in order to earn the money. That money, whatever the money they're earning, that has to last them for the rest of their life. You know, whereas more people work till 60, 65 or whatever, you know, and older. Footballers with those sort of incomes, a boxer with those sort of incomes, that's what you earn in your sport is really got to keep you going for the rest of your life. But you know, everybody's in that boat. You know, there's this. This is why people can't get too wet up because they're not talking about sport. They're not because sport and sports people take up that much of the population that are doing it professionally. You know, there's everybody else, bus drivers, you know, taxi drivers, you know, people working shops, your retail industry, you know, all them sort of people, and they're on crappy wages. They're the ones that are in some serious shit, and you know, without their shops opening back up, they can't go to work. So, you know, we need to get the economy going, but there is this thing where, you know, you get the economy going and opening things up, you're running the risk of more people getting the disease and more people dying.
Speaking about going back to work and money, there was some content on social media and on the internet about a potential comeback for Tony Bellew to fight Andy Ruiz. Now, I interviewed Anthony Crolla last week, and he told me that he's very close to Tony, and he said that might be a distinct possibility at some point in the future. Obviously, what's your viewpoint on that, Dave?
No, that won't happen. That won't happen. Listen, every fighter, especially when they're just recently retired, every fighter is looking for that adrenaline rush. Is looking for that excitement, is the high. Unless you've done it, you don't understand just how high that adrenaline rush is from the even the sparring, you know, from the sparring, but then the fights, the build-ups to fights, the walk into the ring, the introduction, the fight itself, all that, you know. Bellew loves fighting. He's a fighter. He loves fighting. And the thing is, with those kind of guys, Derek Chisora is the same, loves fighting. And with those kind of guys, it is very, very hard to take that out of them. And then when Father Time comes along, starts knocking on your door, you kind of you don't want to answer the door. And you try not to answer the door. But eventually, he gets entry, whether he breaks that door down through or you end up just reluctantly opening the door. Now, a fighter that turns around and says, yeah, this is my last fight, blah, blah, he's opened that door and he's accepted it at that point. But he will feel as though that he can still do things. Because when we all shadowbox and do a little bit of bags, we all think, oh, can do a bit here. Oh, I don't look too bad. But that isn't being a professional fighter. That's just having a little session here, there, and everywhere, and just doing it because there's no pressure on you, there's no eyes on you. Being a professional fighter is having to do that every single day when your body's aching, when your body's absolutely dying, making weight, you know, getting punched in the head, getting punched in the body. As you're getting older, it takes you longer to recover from each session. When you're retired and you get the gloves on and you do a bit of training, put in a good work, look really good session, take the gloves off, take the gear off, you feel good. Maybe that night you start feeling a bit tired. The next morning you get up, you feel, a bit of aches and pains. Fuck it, I'll train tomorrow. I'm not going to do anything today. Because it's not your job. When you're a professional fighter and you're in advancing years, you have to carry on and you have to go in and train that next day. You have to go in and it'll be a double set. It's not just one, just have a little bit of a session. You've got to train. You've got to train and keep up with these young pups that are coming in sparring, trying to knock you out. The aches and pains then and the injuries, that's when you start realizing, shit, my body's not built for this anymore. And what Tony, you know, he's a smart guy. And, you know, he will have the same thoughts where he feels that he can do it, wants to do it because he loves fighting. But he knows that his last 4 fights or so, his body was breaking down. He went into every one of those fights he went into with injuries. The world title fight, the Hay fights, went in with injuries. And it's because his body started to break down. And that's what happens. After years of hammering your body, you get to a stage where wear and tear takes effect and your body starts breaking down. That is natural aging. These guys that are getting juiced up, they don't really age that much, you know, or it can mask aging. But when you're a clean athlete, you start looking older. You start getting older, physically, feeling older. And that is what you're competing with. And that when reality strikes, and when you think about it in deep thought, you know. And Tony's got a wife that will absolutely batter the shit out of him. if he were to turn around and say he was going to fight again.
Anthony did mention that, to be fair. That's exactly what Anthony Crawler said to me last week.
Yeah, and he's got close friends around him that'll tell him no. You know, he's never had a big circle full of yes men and stuff like that. You know, he's got people around him that have got his interests at heart. And so yeah, it's one of those things. Would you fight Andy Ruiz? Yeah, of course I would. Yeah, fucking, I'd love to fight Andy Ruiz. I would be. That's the fighter. That's the fighter. If you're going to ask him about things, and if you're going to talk about other fighters out there, you're still talking as though, and you are going to talk as though you are a fighter, and you can go in there and fight him and beat him.
Dave, hypothetically, Dave, obviously that fight will not go ahead. But if hypothetically, if it did go ahead, who would win that fight?
At his best, I would always put Bellew. I'd put my money on Bellew for that fight. At his best, but there's at your best, and there's getting older. He's older now than when he last trained. You know, there's all sorts of things coming. You know, there's inactivity. There's all sorts of things. You know, it's hypothetically speaking, but reality speaking, I can't see it happening.
I mean, at the start of this lockdown, we had Cole Froch calling out.
Can I just say as well? That's the other thing. A lot of fighters, or a lot of ex-fighters, in day-to-day life, they're doing things to keep the mind occupied. Going on TV shows, doing after dinner speaking, doing little tours, doing this. It's all about, as well as making a few quid, it's about keeping that occupied and taking your mind off of the desire of wanting to fight. Because that is in them still, because they're quite fresh from retiring. That is in them still. They're still adjusting to Civvy Street, so to speak. And when you get locked down and you can't go anywhere, you can't go to football, you can't go and play golf, you can't go and do this, you can't go and do your dinner speaking and be around people and still go to shows, work for Sky, do this. When all that gets taken away from you and you're stuck in your house and you're left with your thoughts, that's when all of a sudden, I've got to keep fit because lockdown, I need to keep it. So you do what you do to keep fit. And as you're getting fit, you're thinking, fucking hell, I can do this a bit. And you're alone with your thoughts still with no distraction. Then you think, fuck it, I'm going to make a comeback. So I think a lot of this as well, with a lot of fighters, not just Tony, with a lot of fighters that have retired and they're still coming back. I think that may have something to do with it, because it's not just some coincidence. All of a sudden, you've got all these fighters talking about coming back for exhibitions and fights and this and other. I think that might have a bit to do with it as well.
Let's move on to a couple of fighters that have not retired. There was a virtual press conference about 10 days ago. Anthony Fowler, O'Hara Davis, and Eddie Hearn. There's been a lot of bad blood between these two guys. There's been massive amounts of sort of abuse on social media. They're both talking about making the weight. Obviously, you're Anthony Fowler's coach. What's your viewpoint on that?
Not anymore.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not. No, Fowler left me after his last fight. He left me.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah,
is that a recent thing?
Oh, sorry, it's not his last fight. He's had a fight since then. Yeah, he's had a fight with Shane McGuigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I stand corrected, Dave.
Okay. No, we're still friends and everything. There's no fallout or anything like that. But I didn't see the virtual press conference or whatever. I haven't seen that. Obviously, I've seen the to and froing on Twitter. That's another fight. I can't see that happening. You know, Fowler's a big old light middleweight, and that means O'Hara Davis is going to come up to the divisions. He's not going to come all the way up to 154. Fowler's not going to go any lower. I would say Fowler, if he wanted to, because he doesn't really struggle to make 154. I mean, he eats pretty much like shitloads. If he wanted to struggle, he'd probably do 152. But I've seen O'Hara saying he wanted it at 150. That's not happening. And then Angel Fernandez, O'Hara's trainer, said that he wouldn't train him if Davis did want to go up. I think it's just been some great banter, great talk, because they personally don't like each other, but the weight division will keep them apart.
Another result of boxers being bored on the lockdown, then, would you say?
Maybe. Oh, that's mainly just a clash of personalities, because they both like to talk and chat a bit of shit online and stuff. And I don't know how it sparked. I can't remember how it sparked, but one of them will have pissed the other one off, and the other one, rather than just reacted to it, and it's just blown up. That's it.
We'll have a lot of Nottingham people tuning into the show, maybe now or watching later on, and the MTK Global Golden Contract. It must have been quite bizarre for you, because we've got Tony Bellew supporting Jazza Dickens,
yeah,
and you're in Lee Wood's corner. How was that experience?
It makes no difference when I've got a fighter on. I'm only bothered about Lee Wood, so it doesn't make a difference who Bellew's with. Bellew's just another manager of another fighter. It'd be the exact same as anybody else. Makes no difference whatsoever. Yeah, you can have a bit of a laugh and a banter when we see each other. But when it comes to the fight, my focus is just on Lee. Yeah, it was. I was gutted. I was gutted for Lee. I really was.
What was your overview and your analysis of Lee's performance, and what can he do better on fights going forward? What do you guys need to work on?
Well, that was the one fight that I was worried for. I thought in his fight with Joyce, I said, to a few people in our team that Dickens, looking at that performance against Joyce, Dickens was the one that I didn't want to fight before the tournament. He stylistically, I thought he would be the most difficult night. I know a lot of people said Ryan Walsh, but for me, Dickens was the only one that I was really worried about. I thought Lee would beat everybody else quite comfortably, but Dickens was always the one that I didn't want. And on fight night, it kind of proved that. I just felt that there were a lot of things that what Lee does, Jazza can expose, and that's what happened.
There was a moment in that fight in the last 10 seconds. Obviously, you were ringside. You can fully remember that, where Lee nearly got him out of there. He nearly stopped him.
But that's Lee. He won't give up until the fight's over, and it possesses some serious power. And he's a quality fighter. It really is. It just weren't his night that night. It was a great fight all the way through. It was a great fight. So it's a fight that it's not one of those where it's one of those he got completely outclassed. And no, it was a great fight. It was a really good fight. It's just that it just wasn't his night that night, and unfortunately, we got the loss. But that's part of boxing. And when I look about the last couple of years now, is it 18 months, 2 years now that since I signed Lee, I look at how his career's gone, and I'm quite happy. I'm not happy with the last fight. I'm not happy with getting coming to an end.
What does he need to improve on?
That's not my job. It's his coach's job to say that. I'm not gonna come out on an interview and say, I think he needs to do this and he needs to that. They I've spoken. They know what I think. But he's a quality fighter. He just needs to tweak a few things and adapt. And the best thing about defeats it gives you an opportunity to learn, because usually you will see mistakes in a defeat and things in your makeup and your style that can cost you, that when you're winning, it's easy to mask or it's easy to ignore. And so he's had a period of reflection. He's been back training now. He knows what he's got to do, and I believe he will do it. I think the plan was for him to fight in his third place, come through that, and then we'll go straight back into a big fight. Now, obviously, I don't know what's happening. We just have to sit and wait. But he will come back. Whether the kid who was supposed to fight him in the third place wants to fight in that division or not, or wants to move, that's entirely up to him. But Lee will fight. He will come back with a fight on an MTK show, and then I've already spoke with MTK that we'll look to move him on again. In terms of your career in yourself, Dave, you've obviously had many highlights throughout your coaching career. I was watching one of the Bellew fights a couple of days ago against Makabu at Goodison Park.
classic knockout. Your face running into the ring and hugging Bellew at the end. That must have been an amazing moment for you.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was just listen. That is at that stage as a coach, I'd won British, Commonwealth, European titles, international titles. The one title that I'd not won as a coach was world title, and that was the one that you always want when you get into coaching. But the fact that I've been mates with Tony for years, I got him his first professional deal with Frank Warren. Got him the deal down with Frank. Went down with him to meeting, and he signed professional with Frank. So I've been friends with him right from the start. And then to become his coach for the new chapter as a cruiserweight.
Yeah, Dave. Hello. I think we might have lost. We've lost Dave, but we're going to try and bring him back on again.
Are you back? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, we just lost you there for a minute, mate. Yeah.
And having a relationship we'd had prior to it, to join him at the start of his cruiserweight division where everybody's saying he's got no chance, to then end up, winning the title is pretty special.
What was the experience like on the two Bellew
unreal
fights?
Unreal.
They were amazing fights. They're fights that I watch over and over again on YouTube. Amazing.
Yeah, and the atmosphere, the build-ups and everything. Yeah, I was getting literally stopped by everybody, and even grannies and people you wouldn't even expect to watch boxing had stopped me because of how David made the fight, how he made it personal and everything like that. So everybody was talking about it. It was massive. My kids were going to school and people were talking about it there. It was just the most intense build-up ever. It was just some unbelievable build-up, and then to have the results that we got out of them, it just makes it perfect. But the build-ups was unbelievable, and the atmosphere was amazing. And to be part of that, to be part of something as big as that, because they were huge events. To be part of something like that is something that can't be taken away from me. I've experienced something like that, and it is unbelievable. It's a great experience. Listen, I've been to Mexico, Guadalajara, and had a fight against Canelo, out there in his hometown. I've been to Germany for Hey Klitschko, been involved in that. I've been involved with a lot of big fights, but being involved in that and those two fights and the whole drama, circus, everything about it, it was unbelievable. It really was.
Would you say at the minute that is the pinnacle of where you've been at in your coaching career?
The Macabo win. Yeah, that Goodison Park football stadium. You walk out and you see the whole bank of the stadium bouncing up and down, singing your man's name. In fact, when we was in the chain rooms, just before we were about to walk out, you could hear and you could feel the stands shaking. And we turned the stereo off, and all you could hear was the fans singing. And I remember that ring walk. It was just unbelievable. When we're walking down the tunnel to come to where you've come out onto the pitch.
Goosebumps.
Unreal. And you look to your left and you see the crowd all bouncing. It was just unbelievable. It really was. It was such an experience. But then, like I said, the feeling of winning that world title, in the fashion that he did, and what it meant, that is number one. That is number one. The Hay fights were more. They were obviously they were bigger events because of the public interest in them, and they were huge events, and they were very, very personal because of how Hay made it, and the pressure was unbelievable. But it's a different sort of feeling. It's a different feel. It's still as big, but just different. It's just for me to if I'd have got into this and never won a world title as a coach, then I'd be but that's why that one has that special take.
When Bellew knocked Makabu out in the 3rd round, was you in a state of shock at that point? Because nobody expected that, though.
Yeah, nobody outside the camp. But you know, when you're working with somebody day in, day out, it's like, you know, no, it wasn't a shock. I fully expected him to win the fight. In fact, in the 1st round, you know, he got a bollock off me because he got careless, and he got put on his backside. But when he got himself back together in the 2nd round, then everything's right. Okay, cool. You just carry on doing it, but be smart, be careful, and yeah. I wasn't shocked. It's just the realization, and it's just a fashion. When Makabu's head drops like that and he goes to sleep, that is it. And you've got to understand that with the crowd and the atmosphere and the occasion, what it is, you just lose your shit, man. Anyone that can just climb into a ring and be all calm and smug and yeah, nah, man, I just lost my shit. I'm quite an emotional sort of person.
What was going through your mind at that point, Dave?
Fucking hell, everything. It's just like, fucking hell, you've done it, wicked. That's it. I can't put into words what goes through your mind. It's emotions. If you're an emotional sort of person, emotions just fly around, and you literally lose your shit. And I did. I just, you know, I look back and I think, oh shit, man. But I'm not bothered because that's me. You know, that's me. When we get beat, I get upset. I'll cry. You know, I won't lie. And that's just me. I can't be one of these coaches that are detached and just it's just well done. Oh, that's it. I've seen coaches in the past, you know, where one of their fighters got knocked out and they just have a laugh and a joke about it, and I'm like, what the fuck? How can you do that? You know, it's not. That's not me. And like I said, also, they win a big fight, win a title, and just get in and all just kind of smug and stuff. Nah. I will like be as happy as my emotions want to be at that time.
Dave, me personally, I'm a boxing addict, so I'm constantly going onto YouTube, watching old fights. Do you go on to the old fights, much like Bellew, Hay 1 and 2, and watch them back and think, wow, did that really happen? Or do you just get on with life?
No. I'm too busy looking at fights, studying for the next fight.
Yeah.
I can't. It's like we win a world title and then in the car, you know, the next day, obviously you go out after and we're back at the hotel and just having a good time. But then my mind's still on mistakes and if we're fighting him, what you like, because you kind of have an idea of who might be next and what sort of path you're going to go. So my mind's straight away on the next fight. And like seriously, my wife says to me, she's like, I've got a problem because I don't enjoy the moment. And I can't enjoy the moment because I'm too preoccupied with what's coming next. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy, but I can't switch off. And that's with any fighter, not just Tony. It's been with any fighter. You know, we have a great win, and then I'm thinking straight on, and especially if there's anything that I see in the fight where alarm bells. So when Tony just defended his world title against BJ Flores, he boxed shit. He was absolute shit. Went in there, just had an absolute tear up, but he did that because obviously he wanted the hair fight. So the whole point of getting BJ was to smash BJ. So because he's David's best mate. So he went in there reckless just to knock him out. And we'll just bear in mind, we just made a world title defense, successful world title defense. I'm going home thinking, it's got to fucking be smarter than that against here. And thinking about how bad he was in that fight, the shots. And when I say how bad, the disregard he had for punches coming back his way and being reckless. So I've got that on my mind. Instead of being happy, I was with the Sky a lot after. Back then I wasn't working with Sky, but I was, you know, I've been friends with all the production team and everything for years. And I remember they was with me, and they was the whole thing, and I was like, oh, that was shit. And that's my trainer's head, and that's what I'm like. So yeah, I don't dwell on great nights. I every so often I might watch it back. I haven't watched them back, God knows that, but I'm on to the next fights. I'm on to studying fighters of the past that are going to help my fighters' development and things like that.
Dave, what 3 things makes a great boxing coach from your point of view?
I think you need a fighter that you can gel with and that you can get the best out. I think the most important thing for me, I'm not talking about any other coach. I'm not talking about any other coach. I can't speak for any other coach, and it's not my job to say, oh, I think this is what makes a great coach. I'm just saying, for me, the successes that I've had at whatever level, I've had British, Commonwealth, European, world title wins, loads of different levels, you know, with different fighters. And I would say the most important thing is being able to get the best out of what you've got, being able to get the best out of that fighter, because you can teach fighters this, but if you can't teach it in a manner of where they're going to pick it up and where they're going to be able to understand it, believe in it, and then be willing to put the work in and the dedication to keep practicing until they pull it off, until they can do it. If you can't do that, man management wise and get into the minds wise, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the greatest coach in the world. If you can't communicate with that fighter and get to that fighter, then it ain't working. You know, you need patience because it takes a lot of work. Because if you need to be able to understand that when you show a fighter something new, some fighters will pick it up, and other fighters it'll take longer and longer and longer. It'll take a long time, and if you haven't got the patience for it, then you might give up. Oh, well, that's no good, and you just don't do it. You know, there's a lot to it. And you have to have an understanding. You have to have an understanding of boxing. You have an understanding of that fighter. You know, you can't have one style to coach and then expect that everybody that walks through your doors, you teach them the exact same way. Case in point is that Jamie and Gavin McDonnell are twins. So if you think the twins, they can do both, no. One's quite mechanical, the other one's a lot more fluid and a lot more relaxed. Can't teach them both the same ways, but the twins. So what I'm saying is, if twins have to be taught, can be taught differently because of a need, then people aren't related. That what one guy comes in is at the same weight, is 5'4" super bantamweight. The next guy's a 6 foot super bantamweight. Are you going to teach them the same way? Are you going to teach them to box the same way? No. Some people are more naturally inclined to box a certain way to another, and you have to be able to blend that in with what you're teaching as well.
Dave, obviously it's a difficult time for people on the lockdown. We're coming up to week 8. There's people probably tuning in this evening, probably suffering with a lack of motivation, maybe a bit of anxiety, maybe haven't got as much get up and go. I always ask at the end of every single interview that I do, Dave Coldwell, if you can give anybody advice about the lockdown and about how to deal with things at the minute, what inspiration could you give?
It's not about inspiration or telling people what to do. All I can say to you is what I do and what I find works for me. Because what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. You know, the most important thing is for me is right from day one. Yes, make this a routine. You think to yourself, right, okay, this is the situation. There's no point in moaning and bitching about, oh, I don't want to be locked down. I want to be doing this. I can't wait to go back to work. I can't wait to go out and see my friends. There's no point in just dwelling on that sort of shit because it's not happening. If it's not happening, if it's something that you can't control, don't worry about it. Worry about what you can control. And what you can control is you and your life, what you're willing to do. And for me, it was, right, okay, the easiest thing in the world is to get up in the morning or not get up in the morning and eventually come downstairs at whatever time because you've got no routine now. So stay in bed till 11, 12, can't be arsed, I'll get up when I want to get up. Come downstairs, make a cup of tea, go in, sit on the sofa and switch TV on. Oh, because the worst thing that's going to happen then is if you're feeling down and shit, all you're going to do then is just sit down and just watch that TV. So from being laid down for God knows how many hours, you're going to come downstairs and just sit down, plonk your ass on the sofa. Then you're going to start worrying about, why am I putting weight on? Why am I feeling lethargic? Why have I got no energy? Because you're not doing anything. The first thing I do in the morning, as soon as I get up, boom, I'm active, I'm doing something. Do a little bit of a training session. You know, the kids straight away are doing the schoolwork straight away. Get it out of the way, then you can do whatever you want after that. You know, but I will do something straight away. I'm fortunate enough that I'm a coach, so I'm training my fighters. So I'm on a FaceTime straight away with it. The first couple of weeks, I'd sit down and I'd be doing the FaceTime session. Then I thought, what am I doing? Just sat down. I can be burning some calories. I've got an exercise bike. I've got an exercise bike in my garage that I've literally had it 9 years, and I've never used it once. Never used it once. Because I've never because I'm in my gyms. I've got to Valentine's to train, but I've got my wife's saying, "Oh, get rid of it." I've been wanting to get rid of it, just nobody's come and pick it up. So I've used my exercise bike. All of a sudden, I've used my exercise bike every single day since I used it once. I'm just doing something, so I've added something else to it. You know, you don't need masses of space. I didn't have a gym in my house before lockdown. I've created a bit of space in a garage where I can do some exercises. Before I did that, I was doing it in the living room. Even if you can't be asked to train, do some body weight stuff, do some press ups, do some squats, do something active first thing in the morning, because it sparks your mind straight up to be more active. You just feel better about yourself. You feel more active. If you get everything, do you know, I'll do it later. Later never comes. It doesn't come, because you find that you'll slip yourself into something that you're lethargic. And then because you're lethargic, all you've been doing is watching TV, you might have ate some more shit, and you just sat there, and then you can't be bothered to get up because you put yourself in that frame of mind. Get it done first thing. You've done it. Then you don't have to do anything else again for the rest of the day. If you want to put a second session in, you can, but you've already done a session, so you don't have to do it. But you have to keep your mind occupied. You have to keep your mind flying. Keep it positive. Keep it busy. It's all right, people say, "Oh, I'll stay positive." But you have to make it positive, because you have to find things that are a positive sort of thing. Rather than putting the news on and watching the news 24/7, talking about how much of a disaster this country's in. Oh, everybody's dying. Oh, it's this, it's that. Oh, you be scared, all this shit. So there's people that are going to be sat there and just think, shit, and it puts them on a downer. Get the highlights, get the headlines, and then if you're interested in it. This is what I do. If somebody tells me that there's a possibility of this vaccine, blah blah blah, I thought, okay, listen to what it's about. Then I'll do my own research. And what is this? What is this that they're on about talking about doing? What is this with these numbers that are all these people dying? Well, how are they testing? Do your own research if you want to do it that way. Don't just listen to what people are saying to you on news, because you're only being told what they want you to be told. You have to find positives in everything that you're facing. And the positives in this lockdown is that we're getting to spend more time with his kids. And I mean actual time, rather than just sat there watching TV while your kid's trying to talk to you. You could just play about the toy. Have some active time with your kids. There's no excuse not to. There's no excuse not to whatsoever. You don't have to, if it's raining, you don't. Kids have got games. You can play games in the house with your kids. This is a great time for a kid to get to know his parents. You know, for parents that are always working away or consumed with the work, kids, it sounds silly, but there's a lot of kids that don't actually know the parents. My mum and dad were in my house with me, but I didn't know my mum and dad. Even because my dad used to work away a lot when I was young. But then after he lost his job and he was just in the house all the time, he would be in the house in the same room as me, but never speak to me. I never knew my dad. So this is a great time for people that feel as though they haven't got that relationship, haven't got that bond with the kids that they want. Take advantage of it. If you don't do anything else in lockdown, get to know your kids. Because trust me, once this goes, that bond will still be there, and it'll be better than what it was before. If we can come out of this with something that's better than what it was before, then you've made use of lockdown. Whether it's, if you're not happy with how you look, do some exercise, do something. Do you know all this shit where everybody's obsessed about flash washers, flash trainers, flash clothes, or, you know, some people got some really expensive designer clothes in the wardrobe and they've got debts. You know, it's not like the rich. I'm talking about normal people on normal wages that blow a lot of money on designer clothes and they've got debts. What's your designer clothes doing for you right now? Where are you going? Where are you going to be seen in them? Do you know what I mean? And that's, I'm not saying you shouldn't have that. I'm saying that's what I'm trying to say is things like that, actually, they're not important. And it gives us a chance, to give us a chance to actually realize what's important. You know, it doesn't matter if you know all these people that's all about their hair and stuff, and it's getting a bit of a laugh now because people actually are doing lives with their hair a bit big, bit out, because now they're starting to get a little bit more comfortable and realize, well, this is me. I can't get to my hairdresser. I can't get to my beautician. This is me.
Do you think in certain aspects this pandemic has changed the world for the better then, would you say?
It can do if you allow it to. But this is what I'm saying. You have to flip and see the positives. You can't just dwell on negatives. There's too many that are just dwelling on negatives, just purely dwelling on negatives. Now, people aren't being able to see the relatives. Before the pandemic, how often did you see your relatives? Did you actually go around, or did you begrudge going to see your relatives? Oh, gotta go and see mother-in-law. Oh, gotta go see. Now you're wanting to see them because you can't see them, or you're looking at them through a pane of glass. Will you then, after this pandemic, will you then make an effort to go and actually sit and talk to them? And you know when old people want to talk to you and you just think, oh, fucking hell, rabbiting on about something. She told me that last week, right? Now will you actually take an interest and listen to them, what they're saying? I think people will. I think people's attitudes will change. But it's only the people that want to look for a positive. There are always going to be people that will dwell on the negatives. You can't do anything about them. You can't help people like that. They're the same people that will still moan. They'll moan to you. They're not happy with something. You'll see them 6 months down the line. They're still moaning about the same shit. They haven't changed anything. You know, people moan about the jobs. Oh, I can't stand my job. I've got to do it. Change your job. Change your job. It's scary. It's all right to say, oh, well, you can say, no, it's scary. I get that. But if it makes you unhappy, why are you working in a job if it makes you unhappy? While you're in, I'm not saying give the job up and then just have nothing, but while you're in your job that you're not happy with, start looking at other jobs, see if there's other avenues you can get into. It's like this, learn something new. You know, you still got a few more weeks till everything's going to go back to normal. It's not too late. Learn something new. Have a look at something. If you fancy doing something else, look at how could I actually get that job? And then start putting things into place. I said to my son early on today, if you never try, then I guarantee it'll never happen. If you don't try, it'll never happen. But if you try, you might not make it, but there's a chance that you will make it. There's a chance that you will get what you want if you try. And I think sometimes as kids, we're willing to try things and we're willing to chase that dream. But somewhere along lines, adults maybe, or the influence of adults, makes you think, nah, keep safe. I can't do that. No, that's out of my reach. But why? When you're a kid, you go for it full throttle, and then other people put negative things into your mind that stop you from doing it because you think you can't do it. Or we fear peer pressure. Or if we look at Twitter and we see people saying that you're shit, we think, oh, actually, yeah, I can't do that. Do you know what I mean? It's other people's opinions. Other people's opinions don't mean anything. And just because there's a lot of people that are very, very negative about what's happening right now, doesn't mean that you can't find something positive out of it. And so that's, for me, that's the main thing.
So fundamentally then, exercise, gratitude, and having a vision. I think
so. I think you have to look forward. You have to think about, you know, you have to be positive, and it's not just blind positivity, just smiling all the time. Nobody fucking smiles all the time, you know. There's a difference between having a positive outlook and being happy all the time. Nobody's happy all the time. It's impossible, you know. And just because you have a shit day doesn't mean that the world's imploding and your life's shit. just means you're having a shit day, and you've got to accept we're gonna have shit days. You've got to accept that if you are feeling shit in lockdown, don't make you a bad person, because there's no wrong or right way to handle lockdown, because it's new. It's something new for us all. You know, we haven't been in this sort of position, but you have to deal with it the best way you can to make yourself feel better. And you ain't going to feel better by dwelling on the shit. That's a fact. Don't care who you are.
Dave, it's been fantastic speaking to you this evening. It's a real pleasure to have you on the show. Any final words?
No, I think I've said enough. No, thanks for having me on. And I just, I hope everybody out there does find some positives out of what's going on. It's shit, I know, it really is. And I think if we focus on looking after our own and looking after our family, then we can, if each person does the smart things and stay away from the people that aren't doing the smart things, then I think we get out of this a little bit quicker. Lovely speaking to you, Dave. Stay safe. Cheers, mate. Take care. And thanks for coming on the show again, mate. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Take care, Dave. Cheers. See you later. Bye.